All right, so I'm just going to give you a really brief walkthrough of Photoshop and what it does. So, the first time you're ever working in the actual Photoshop software on a laptop or a desktop, it's going to look a lot different than your cell phone. So, in order for you to open up your pictures in Photoshop, you can go to File, Open, and you can just look to find where your photos are that you want to use. So I have a photo up already, and I just want to walk you through the bare bone basics. So the first thing that most of you will end up doing is cropping your photo. So the crop tool is right here on your left-hand side. So I'm going to select it. What's great about Photoshop is that if you don't know what a tool does, a window will pop up to learn more so you can learn about it. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to zoom out by hitting Control minus. You should learn some hotkeys in Photoshop. And I'm just going to crop my photo like that. I'm going to zoom in by hitting Control plus. So I have this photo here. It's a portrait. For the most part, good photos don't need a whole lot of editing. So what I might do is just kind of pick and choose things that I may or may not want in the photo. So for example, if I zoom in by hitting Control plus, maybe I see there's a little tiny dot on his face that I might just want to get rid of. So on the left-hand side here, there's a bunch of tools. One of the tools that I want you to learn very quickly how to use is the Spot Healing Brush tool. If I click on it, it's going to be a little tiny dot on my screen. You can kind of see it wiggle back and forth. In order to make that little circle bigger, the brackets on your keyboard will make them bigger or smaller. So in order to get rid of blemishes and dots and things like that, you want the size of your circle to be about the same size as your blemish. And then you just want to tap with your mouse and it will heal it. So you can do that on a couple different areas like the nose here. Maybe you want to do, oops, I made an oopsie, so I can go edit, undo spot healing brush. Maybe this spot here. Maybe we'll go over to the water. Maybe for some reason you don't like this spot right here. I can hold my mouse down and color it in and it'll disappear. So it's a really good tool to have. Just keep in mind when you're using it, you need to make sure that it's about the same size as your blemish. Otherwise, what could happen, let me show you. So I'm using my brackets to make it bigger, smaller. Say if I wanted to get rid of this blemish for whatever reason, and I click on it, it might look good, it might look bad. So you just want to play around with it. If you ever make a mistake in Photoshop, you can go to Edit and then Undo. Or what I like, because sometimes I'll do a couple edits and I decide, oh, I didn't like that, I can go up at the top where it says Window, go down to History and make sure I check it. And this has all of the steps that I've done so far. So at any point in time, I can go back to those, but I'm going to leave it on my edits because I like it. So I'm just going to move this over here, move this over here, and you can get rid of windows if you want to. This one's bothering me, so I'm just going to get rid of it. I don't need it. And if for some reason there's a window that I'm talking about and you don't see it, you can always go and look for it up at the top where it says window. So I'm going to zoom out by hitting Control minus so I can look at my overall picture. And now I'm just going to give you where basic editing things are. So up at the top bar where it says image, I'm going to go to adjustments. And this is where most of your editing is going to occur. So brightness and contrast, levels, curves, and exposure deals with the blacks and whites and like pretty much your brightness of your photo. So if I go to brightness and contrast, I can turn up my brightness of my photo if I want to, or I can turn it down. I can play around and make a high contrast photo or make it a little bit more muted. What's great about Photoshop is that you can hit the preview check mark at any time to see the before and the after. I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel. If I go back up at the top again and go to Image, Adjustments, and I go to Levels, this time it gets a little more complex. This little mount me thing here is called a histogram, and I don't want you to get like super frustrated with this because it looks really complicated, but it's really not. So what this tells me here, and if you play around with the little, I call them carrots, this is the shadows caret, this one here is the midtones caret, and this one is the highlights caret. I know just looking at my photo, I don't have a whole lot of highlights. So if I play around and I bump up my highlights, my picture already automatically appears so much better. If I bump the shadows, it makes a more high contrasty photo. So if I hit the preview button, I can see the before and after, and I can toggle the middle as well to see what I like more. But because this is a tutorial, I'm gonna hit cancel. If I go to Image, Adjustments, I'm gonna skip these two because they pretty much do the same thing. But this little category here deals with all the colors. So for example, if I go to Hue and Saturation, right now I'm on Master Colors, meaning it's manipulating all the colors. I can change the hue completely. I can change the saturation completely, or I can change the brightness or darkness of my picture. Now, for some reason, if you don't like those, I'm just going to go ahead and enter zeros. That's my baseline number. And if I just wanted to maybe manipulate the watercolor, maybe I don't want it to be watery. Maybe I want it to be some other different kind of color. It's in the green, blue, cyan range. So I'm just going to guess and click cyans. Now that we're in the cyan, it's only going to manipulate the cyan colors. So for example, you can see that I can change my water here to purple, but some of my colors back here aren't changing. So that's kind of like a greenish tint. So I'm going to go to my greens and do the same thing. And sometimes it's kind of a guessing game. Let me try going to my yellows to get that moved in. Now, when I went to my yellows, it manipulates my person. So let me try blues. And I can mess around with that. But that's pretty much how you use hue and saturation. I'm going to go ahead and reset all of these. Okay, so now that we are pretty much back to normal here, there's a bunch of different presets at the top. So you can pick different presets as a base for your image. I like that old style one. Sepia one's nice too. Or you can go to custom and you can custom make your different presets. I'm going to hit cancel, go back to image, adjustments, and color balance pretty much does the same, similar things. Photo filters, those are pretty self-explanatory. And then all these things down in these columns here, they all do something just a little bit different. But for now, I just wanted to hit kind of the bare bone basics. Now, as far as when you are trying to save your work to put on Flickr, we're going to go to File, Save As, and I like to save onto the computer, but if you want to save onto your cloud, maybe you're halfway editing and you want to go home and finish editing, you can always save to the cloud. But I'm just going to save to my desktop computer. And I always get in the habit of starting it off with first name, last name, and then whatever the assignment was for that week. So for example, maybe this is portrait week and it's a portrait assignment. Now, I might want to go back and edit this photo. So I always try to save my file as a Photoshop file first. So I do the Photoshop file first. And I like to save to my desktop. So I'll go over here and save it to my desktop, and I'll hit save. And then I'll do it one more time as a JPEG so I can easily put it on Flickr. So I'll go to File, Save As, Save on my computer, first name, last name, portrait, put it on my desktop, and this time save it as a JPEG. It'll have a window that pops up asking you what kind of quality you want your photo. I want the maximum, always, always, always. And then I'm going to hit OK. So that's just a quick little run through of Photoshop. If you have more questions, just let me know. There's so many different things you can do in Photoshop. I just wanted to give you the bare bone basics.